My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today I wanted to talk about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is basically what that means is that you might feel like when you go to do something that you are an imposter because you're not well versed. Probably a lot of two-leggeds have experienced this, although I've never lied on a resume because I was raised by a woman that was very all about truth, all about integrity. I'm not going to vilify that action because it can be an interesting situation to get a job out here sometimes. And a lot of times people are autodidactic or able to teach themselves. They're adept learners. I know I'm autodidactic. I can learn a lot by teaching myself. And so, but one of the ways that can show up is like you might put, oh, I'm great at computers or whatever, and then you get the job. And then you have imposter syndrome because you literally, and you should, because in that situation, you were positioning yourself to be something that you're not. But a lot of people that are experiencing imposter syndrome are actually really adept at what they do. And what's happening is they're stepping into a field that is more aligned with their soul's intent, or more aligned, for the atheistic and agnostic out there, more aligned with their vision for their life or what they intended to do with their life. As I step more towards this life of mine as a spiritual teacher, as a quantum metaphysics teacher, I might want to feel like an imposter, even though I have 40 years of experience with metaphysics and with meditating. I was doing that when I was, 5 years old. My mom was taking us to speed reading classes and these metaphysical churches, and we were meditating as a group, in our little youth group when somebody lost something. So even though I have 4 decades of experience, I still might feel like an imposter because I understand that you could spend 1,000 lifetimes meditating and still deepen in that knowledge. This is true of anything. I feel like you could study Photoshop forever and find new ways that if you're using your creative mind with that platform, that you could expand into the usage and capabilities of it. A large thing I'm experiencing recently that you may or may not relate to is that people that have imposter syndrome, in my experience, typically should not have it. I know a lot of people that have it I'm like, no, you're really like knowledgeable. You're really adept at what you do. You're really competent. Like you're a powerful intuitive. I completely trust your intuition. Remember when you did this and that was really powerful for me? Remember when you did this and that was really powerful for me? So I can spend a lot of time like validating people in the river of my life that are experiencing a quality of imposter syndrome, and they shouldn't have it at all. On the other hand, there are a lot of people that have been birthed in the past 20 to 30 years that should have imposter syndrome. I've watched so many two-leggeds, like, yeah, I've studied astrology for 4 months and I'm now an astrologer and I like have my own astrology website. And it's like, if you studied astrology for 4 months, you don't know the first thing about the topic. And I'm saying that because you have to go to the bathroom, you have to go to sleep, you're going to sleep for 1/3 of your day. You have life to interact with over and above the study of something. And in 4 months' time, the amount of deep dive that you would be able to do for Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, the 18 asteroids, if you're going to go in depth to a natal birth chart, the 12 zodiac signs, the influences of what is and is not there, how things interact together, the alchemy of different signs merging together. Darling, if you've been studying it for 4 months, trust, you don't know all of that I just said. and you may have touched it, but what happens when somebody studies something for a few months and is like, great, now I'm going to launch, I'm ready. I'm a novice, I'm an infant, and I'm going to start a business or I'm an adolescent. You're not in adulthood, you're not in wisdom with the knowing of the thing that you've studied. What happens is you can wind up with a lot of false information, because unless you're willing, for those of you that are imposters and don't have imposter syndrome and should, if you're unwilling to say, I don't know, which would be a fact if you've studied something for less than a decade, I would say a topic like astrology requires about a decade of study for you to be in adulthood or wisdom with it. A topic like numerology, when we account for the amount of time you're going to spend sleeping, the amount of time for social interaction, the amount of time you're drinking coffee, the amount of time you're driving a car, the amount of time that you're working a job, when we account for all of that, the amount of time that's left in a decade, I would say is an appropriate amount of time to comprehensively understand each planet, what its influence is, each zodiac sign, what its influence is, the alchemy of mixing signs together, the asteroids, the function of a natal birth chart, how that works, all the subtle nuances of it. You know, as an astrologer, as a numerologist, and I've had the Akashic Records tell me I look at it in a unique way, and it's because I've done it for 3 decades. And what I can tell you, when I do an astrology chart, I'm not here to tell you what you are based on your astrology chart. I'm here to tell you, this is what you have lifetimes of tendencies to do. You have a strong tendency, for example, I'm a double fire sign. Heather, you have a strong tendency to be a very fiery, saucy broad, and don't we know it, baby? And what I don't have is any earth. So what I'm going to coach a client to is not about what their natal chart is saying. I'm going to coach them to what their natal chart is not saying. I'm going to go, I've noticed you don't have any earth elemental. And the 4 elements of manifestation, fire, water, air, and earth, you're missing one of the elements for you to be holistic in your manifestation. So what I recommend is you slow down, Heather Feather. You consider your choices. You're going to be a great risk taker. You're going to be a huge adventurer. You're going to be a huge traveler. And make sure before you take that trip, before you choose that relationship, before you choose that whatever XYZ, that you slow down, you consider it, you stew in it, make sure you get in your body. So those are all things, if I was coaching myself based on my natal birth chart, that I would bring in, because when I'm looking at astrology, or I'm looking at numerology, or I'm looking at these systems, the function of the system is to bring a person from their historic karmic tendencies into balance. The function of why does astrology serve? It serves because it can bring you into balance. If you look at it, it's a comprehensive system to elicit balance in life. And isn't that what, I mean, that's to me, medicine, person, shamanic path. The whole point really fundamentally is to get into balance. Are you in balance with cleanliness and dirtiness? Are you in balance with health and non-health? Are you in balance with interaction and non-interaction? You know, like, are you being balanced in your life? Are you, because that's how we have a very robust, very rich, very full, very delicious life that is worth living, is to really have a comprehensive one where we get to experience so much, and to really embody all of it. That is evolution. That is the essence, the quintessence of evolution. I experienced so many really knowledgeable people that have spent, I would say, at least 4 or 5 years, which can be enough to get going. You could start a business with that, but continue to study, continue to deepen, I would say. But I mean, we have people jumping into offerings without even a year of study. And in a year, you're going to spend a lot of time doing other things than studying that topic. So do you actually know what you're talking about? Because what I've said for a while is we're in the information misinformation age. That's a fact. When you have information at your fingertips, and any of the 7.9 billion two-leggeds can be like, blah, 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 here's my garbage junk opinion, and I blah, 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 I don't like this, I don't like that, you know, that's a lot of what's on the internet is like trolling, and just, you know, there's a lot of beautiful things. I've seen a lot of animal best friends and cool things on there too, but when you have 7.9 billion people that haven't evolved to a state of consciousness that is one that love is the answer at all times, then you're going to wind up with a lot of false evidence appearing real through that medium. And now, when I was a kid, I would go either get the encyclopedia or the animal encyclopedia or the dictionary to do a report. There was no internet. There was no cell phone. There was just a phone with a long cord. Eventually, the cords got long enough where I could go into another room and be like, hey, come in here, sis, you know. But we didn't have this device where we could just type in anything and need to know that we need to consider the source before we know if we've reached truth. And now there are stores of information you can find on anything you can type into Google or your search engine of choice, and it's going to bring up all this information. So you may even be studying a topic like astrology, like numerology, like herbology, like anything. I don't, you know, baking. It could be playing the guitar, and you may be studying it, and you may be using internet or YouTube as a source, but do you know the source? Did the source know what they were talking about? I talk to my students about this in my tarot class all the time. It is really important, the tarot deck that you choose, specifically the quality of consciousness of that deck. Because each of these decks was made by a two-legged, and it was made by their interpretation of the cards. And I can tell you, I've had decks that it's like, this was a very negative two-legged. Like, they're just like, negative, negative, your life sucks. I'm like, okay, well, don't use this deck, because what I'm trying to do is get lifted. What I'm trying to do is I want the top. I'm trying to get lifted. I'm trying to get up. I'm trying to look up. Stop looking down. Stop being such a Debbie Downer, because in my realm, thought is cause. So I want to lift the entire web of life. Let's get lifted. And so in order to do that, I need to make sure if I'm going to choose an answer source, that answer source is going to add to that lift. I've told a lot of my students, this is one of my favorite decks that my dear friend Lily Rick got me, Mermaids and Dolphins and Magical Creatures of the Sea. It's an oracle deck. It's not a tarot deck. It doesn't have 78 cards, but it's an oracle deck. So it's an answer system that a two-legged made. But it does have a lot of positive answers. The percentage of positivity in that deck is pretty high. So the Light Seers Tarot, relatively positive tarot, right? So if I'm going to start studying tarot, and all of these different people have made tarot decks, and so I go, or I start using maybe apps, or I start using the internet, and I have a deck that is really dark. And it was a gift, and it has a connection to me for medicine, so I hold it. And also, it's like Shadow Teacher is a teacher. But if I were to go and study just that deck, then as a tarot reader, if I memorized even verbatim in 1 year, 6 months, if I memorized verbatim every word, first of all, I don't know the profundity and depth of having read the tarot for 32 years, which I've done, and having dealt with 100 decks and 100 interpretations. But second of all, I only have that two-legged consciousness on what this means. So what I want to say is imposter syndrome belongs with those that have not studied the topic, the novice. There are 4 stages of growth that I've learned through the School of Metaphysics. There's infancy, adolescence, adulthood, and wisdom. If you're in infancy and adolescence, you are not ready to be teaching others. That's not a teaching position. Adulthood and wisdom are teaching positions. That's where you are more of a knower of the topic. So it's a good thing to check in. Am I a knower of this topic? Do I comprehensively know it? Like, how much time have I devoted to the study of this before I go to hand it? Have I checked the sources in which I've garnered the information in which I'm about to share with the world? Because what we don't need is more misinformation in the information misinformation age. We had the information age, it became the information misinformation age. We're headed towards a really golden age of vulnerability. And in order to get that, Shadow is shaken like this everywhere, because we have to pull out from under the rug the hot mess of being a two-legged that each one of us holds. Like, we could save the earth super easy, and it absolutely is viable and absolutely is up to the individual. You as a consumer are influencing the earth and the quality of our Earth School every single day with your purchases. You are the steward of the earth, and the choices you make affect it. If you're choosing grass-fed, pasture-raised for soil health, way to go. If you're being eco-friendly, doing biodegradable, way to go. So it's really important that you know that you are a knower before you decide to educate others. Like, check in. Am I a knower? If someone were to quiz me on this right now, would I be able to tell you that arcana means secrets, and the major and minor arcana are secrets, and so these are lessons that we're going to learn? Do I comprehensively know the topic of tarot or astrology or guitar or baking? Do I know it? Now, a lot of people in my experience that do know it, they get apprehensive because they do actually have appreciation and understanding that each topic is vast, and you could spend lifetimes studying those topics. I could spend lifetimes studying the tarot or astrology, right? But I just want to say, if you have imposter syndrome, look at yourself truly. If you really have studied and you've given devoted time and attention, and you feel like you're maybe not in wisdom but in adulthood, go for it. Share your wisdom, because if you've vetted who you're studying and if you have really studied deeply, then that's value that should be shared. That's golden coin and manna from heaven that should be shared down here. You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. Blessed be.